Hi, I'm Attorney Ramsey Bahrawy, and this is Your Money, Your Life. Today our topic is brain health, a real game changer. Assisting me in this discussion is Patricia Faust, a gerontologist specializing in dementia, brain aging, and brain health. Pat is the Corporate Wellness Director for Dr. Paul Nussbaum's Brain Health Center in Pennsylvania. As a certified brain health coach, she delivers Dr. Cynthia Green's Total Memory Workout program to retirement communities, individuals, as well as informal classroom settings, such as Miami University's Institute for Learning in Retirement. She has demonstrated her commitment to brain health by writing articles that have been featured in the Cincinnati Enquirer. And that's not all. She's also written articles for Gravit.com on men's versus women's brains at work. And oh yes, let's not forget that Patricia's media activities have included frequent radio appearances as an on-air expert gerontologist for WKRC in Cincinnati. Pat, welcome to Your Money, Your Life. It's great to have you on the program.
Thank you so much. I am really happy to be here, and I think today is going to be a lot of fun.
I agree with you. I think it will be a lot of fun, so let's get started.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about brain health. I hear brain health is a new and exciting area. What are the basics, though, that our viewers should know about brain aging?
The thing about brain aging is we have always known that our brain deteriorates. It shrinks, it gets smaller. The neurotransmitters, the brain chemistry starts to decrease as we get older. What we didn't know is that this cognitive decline starts at around age 25. Now, don't let any 25-year-old tell you different, but it starts at that point. The reason we don't notice those changes are because our brain are so resilient. We have a lot of cognitive reserve buildup that we work off of as we, there's late night parties and all the fun we have when we're younger, take up a lot of, they do a lot of damage to our brain, but our brains can handle it. But as we get older and around age 50, all of a sudden we're starting to notice some changes, and we start to get a little worried about that. So the changes that occur are our speed of processing. What that means is the rapid perception and execution of decision making really slows down as we get older. We're just not as quick as we used to be in coming up with that answer when we hear something. It could affect performance in everyday activities, especially when we hear complex information and someone speaks quickly. We're just not picking it up quite as fast as we used to. Our working memory just isn't as fast as it used to be. I always remember a movie when someone walked into a phone booth and gave all these complex directions, and they walked out of the phone booth and were able to do exactly what they were told the very first time. Well, as you get older, you just don't pick up that information quite as fast. Your working memory doesn't pick it up. And then finally, our executive control processes, which are our operations for planning and monitoring, and actually it's our everyday life just doesn't work as easily as it did when we were younger. And then our memory, which is a function of our brain, slows down too. We have that tip of the tongue that we know the information, we just can't get it out. And then finally, we can't remember names. You hesitate to introduce an old buddy to your wife or a friend of yours because you cannot remember that person's name, and you talk all the way around it. So those are just basic, normal aging processes that happen to our brain.
Pat, there's a phrase that people oftentimes will use when they have, as you said, a word on the tip of their tongue or a phrase on the tip of their tongue, and they just can't seem to find it. And they call that a senior moment. Is that is that a realistic characterization?
I know. I hate that term. I absolutely hate that term. I don't think it's I don't think it's a senior moment. I think that's, I sort of laugh at it when it happens now. I used to worry about it when I thought it was a for real senior moment. The information's there. And when you get anxious about it, it takes you longer to bring it forward. The amygdala is not going to let you bring up that information any faster because you're anxious now. It's not a senior moment. It's just part of your aging brain. It's just that communication isn't going quite as quickly as it did before, that speed of processing.
Let me follow up on that, Pat. There are some people who will have the sort of issue that you just mentioned where a word just won't come out, and they very seamlessly are able to get into another word, a synonym, and kind of move on with the conversation. But then there are some people that, for them, not being able to find that word suddenly becomes a roadblock, and as you said, then they suddenly become anxious, and they can't really go forward with the conversation. What's going on there?
It's not that the word's not there for them, it's because it's the anxiety that becomes the roadblock. For most people, that's not the problem that indicates a bigger problem. So I don't usually look at that situation as indicative of bigger problems because anxiety plays a big role in that.
Let's talk a little bit about maintaining brain fitness as we age. I mean, there's really no doubt that this is something that's crucial, but can you talk about what lifestyle changes people can easily make to assure maximum brain fitness?
There's 5 different parts of brain fitness, and we all should be incorporating these into our everyday life. There's physical exercise, mental stimulation, socialization. We should be out and being around other people, nutrition, and spirituality. And we're going to talk about some of these other things in more detail. But physically fit adults generally have better cardiovascular health and better pulmonary function. So already they have a step up on having better cognitive function. Whatever pertains to the heart pertains to the brain. So if you're walking, if you're keeping a balance, maintaining a balanced diet, if you're getting out and you're being with other people, you're not isolating yourself, and you're doing different things that are keeping your brain active, you're really doing great lifestyle practices that are going to keep your brain in really good shape. You don't have to really do anything exceptional that is going to really cause you to, change your life a whole bunch to keep your brain really functioning at a high level. But if you follow just a really good, healthy lifestyle, you're going to keep your brain functioning at a pretty good level.
Pat, let's talk a little bit about diet and nutrition. First, let me say, I don't think anyone can ever get enough expert advice on nutrition and eating. Pat, what dietary changes do you think one should make to maximize well-being and therefore brain health?
Well, I have the advantage of being able to give a call to the nutritionist at the Brain Health Center. So I called Rita Singer, and she specializes in nutrition and brain health. And so she sent along some really excellent advice. This is a really expanding field, nutrition and brain health, and she wanted to make sure everybody understood that there's no concrete conclusions on all of the information that's coming out. It's important information, but sometimes you hear one thing and then everything changes shortly after that. But she said that we know that what we eat impacts how we feel, and how we feel impacts what we eat. So one thing I found out as I've worked with nutritionists going through that is they don't really single out particular foods a lot of times. They really talk in generalities to make sure that you're eating healthy. It's extremely important to recognize the benefits of eating foods that promote brain health in regards and how it affects us emotionally, physically, and on a cognitive level. Making better food choices can help us feel better and even think clearer. The connection between brain health and nutrition cannot be ignored. In general, maintaining a well-balanced diet with a variety of whole foods is important. Cold water fish is one of the most beneficial foods in regards to brain health and promotion.
You said she doesn't mention any specific foods, but she does mention the cold water fish, correct?
What cold water fish are is they have the omega-3 fatty acids. Our brains are 60% fat. It's the fattest organ in our body. And what that fat does is it helps with communication. It lines the neural pathways within our brain and helps speed communication through our brain. So where we said our speed of processing slows down as we get older, we need to bring in essential fats, and our body doesn't produce those. So we have to bring them in by eating cold water fatty fish. The cold water fish contains omega-3 fatty acids, and specifically DHA and EPA, which are found in like salmon and tuna, mackerel, sardines, and anchovies. And they're important for brain function, both in development and in adulthood. So it starts at the very beginning when you're a child and progresses all the way through. We never lose that need for bringing in more omega-3 fatty acids. And it helps in the flexibility of brain cells and helps protect brain cells. So brain cells are always at risk for attack from free radicals. So it's a critical food group.
Pat, you mentioned the term whole food. How is whole food defined?
She looks at like whole grains, instead of breaking them down, instead of just like the wheat or the oats or the barley. She looks at whole grains completely. She says, I like to say good things come without a package. Choose whole foods like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean meats, and low-fat dairy. Your body recognizes real foods and knows what to do with it. Highly processed foods like packaged meals and most snacks remove beneficial nutrients and are replaced often with sugar, fat, and preservatives. In addition, these foods do not fill us up and make us hungrier for more. So she's looking at whole foods as the real deal, not something that, they've taken all the good stuff out and replaced it with all the, stuff to keep it for a longer shelf life.
Well, I can say, Pat, that when it comes to sugar, I find sugar to be completely insidious. As you pointed out, you have some sugar, and then the next thing you know, half hour, an hour later, you crave more, and then you crave more, and it really is insidious. And I'm not a nutritionist or anything, but I just find sugar to be really awful. And you're right, it's in the food chain. Everything that we buy that's been processed has sugar in it. It's awful.
Well, our brain has really specific needs, and for every heartbeat that we have, 25% of the carbohydrates that we take in goes to our brain. Now, it's a little 2 to 3 pound organ that uses up 25% of our carbohydrate intake. So it has to be top quality. We don't want junk going to our brain. So it takes in 25% of our oxygen, it takes up 25% of our carbohydrates. So we want to make sure that what we're taking in is of the highest quality. So she makes so much sense when she says that whole foods are, the body knows what we're taking in. It recognizes it.
Is food preparation an issue when it comes to brain health? My point is are there healthy versus unhealthy preparation methods? And if so, what are the unhealthy ones so that people know?
The best cooking methods are grilling, baking, broiling, and steaming. Avoid frying foods. It's also important to keep in mind that the proper oils for cooking are olive oil is probably the excellent source of monosaturated fat. It's a healthy fat, but should only be used for medium heat cooking. Coconut oil and grapeseed oil can be used for higher temp due to a higher smoke point. When using oils at higher temps, they have a low smoke point. It will cause these oils to go rancid quicker, which leads to free radical production. And our brain is really susceptible to free radical damage. So they can actually lead to dementia. So we want to make sure that the oils that we're using for cooking are, and especially if we're going to use them for frying, that they're at the proper temperature.
Is it fair to say, Pat, that if somebody has a brain-healthy diet, i.e. is eating whole foods, does that mean that they can eat more, weigh less, and feel a lot better? Is that a true statement?
What we as Americans think as normal is really distorted as far as food portions go. We eat way too much food. It's just that's our portion control is out of whack. We can judge how much food we need to eat just by using our hand. If you use the entire hand is a vegetable serving. So if you use your entire hand, that's a vegetable serving. A fist is for grains, fruit, and milk. A palm, just the palm, is for meat. And the tip of the thumb is for fat and oil. So all in your hand, you know exactly how much food that you should be serving. When you eat, only eat. Don't read, don't watch TV, because that leads to mindless eating, and it leads to mindless eating and overeating. And then maintaining a healthy weight is very critical for brain health. We have a big problem in the United States right now with obesity. So a healthy weight is really critical. So if we follow portion control and eat the right foods, we should be able to be at a healthy weight.
Let me ask a slightly different question, and that is, everyone has bad habits. One of the major bad habits, of course, is smoking. And there are some people that smoke partially because they're addicted, but also partially because it helps them control their weight. But isn't smoking actually very bad for brain health?
Oh, absolutely. I just gave that quote about that statistic about 20% of oxygen goes to the brain. Well, when you're smoking, those carbon dioxide is binding up with the blood instead of the oxygen going to the brain. So the brain is not getting enough oxygen. So that in itself is, plus the other components in cigarette smoke that are replacing in the blood what needs to go to the brain. Right. So yeah, it's totally, it can cause strokes, and it's a cardiovascular problem which affects the brain.
Now, there's lots of supplements out on the market, Pat. Do these supplements play any sort of role in brain health?
Well, the real food is always better. The body reacts a whole lot better with real food than it does with supplements. So there's no telling what you're actually getting in a supplement. So it's better still to get your vitamins and minerals within your food. If you absolutely can, if you don't like fish, you can get an omega-3 supplement to take care of that. But you really need to do your research and make sure you're getting a high-quality supplement.
I think it's pretty well known that we have now become, in the United States anyway, a very sedentary society. And I think more people are realizing that being sedentary is actually very bad for our health. That brings me to the other issue that you mentioned, which is physical exercise or staying fit. What type of exercise would you say people should be engaging in order to improve their brain health?
Well, as you get older, you lose muscle mass, including heart muscle. So physical exercise is critical to your total well-being. Walking, just walking, will grow new brain cells. I mean, there's nothing easier that you can do to improve brain health. And there are so many studies now that have documented that this works. They have no defined medication that will put off the onset of Alzheimer's, but they have documented in many studies that walking will increase brain mass and help with brain health. Now, there's a two-parter to this. You will grow new brain cells in your hippocampus with walking because you're increasing your circulation, you're getting the nutrients up to the cells, to the new cells, and you're making them grow. However, if you don't use those cells, they will die. They will atrophy and die. So you have to, it's a two-step, the neurogenesis is a two-step process. You not only have to make them, you have to use them. It's the ultimate use it or lose it. So after you walk and do your aerobic exercise, then you have to do something mentally stimulating to make sure that those are embedded and actually start working for you.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about mental stimulation. That's really a very good segue. So what sort of activities are mentally stimulating and therefore improve brain health?
Anything that has novelty or complexity actually is mental stimulation for your brain. You see a lot of these games now online that are brain fitness games, and they say that they'll do all of these things. Well, actually, they do have a lot of science behind them to do them, but you don't have to go out and buy these games to make your brain work better. You just have to every day challenge your brain in a novel way. You can travel, read. You can pursue creative arts, music, game playing like board games. You can play chess. You can learn a new language. And the political season's coming back around again. You can participate in debates. Anything that you can do that challenges your brain. Now, everybody always asks me about Sudoku and about crossword puzzles. Well, your brain actually works on two levels. You have the cortex and the subcortex. The subcortex is all your rote memory that you do sort of without thinking about anything. So if you work crossword puzzles all the time, you're working them out of your subcortex, and it's not doing anything for your brain. If you bump it up a notch and you're really challenged by, say, maybe the New York Times crossword puzzle, and it's really making you sweat to find these answers, okay, yeah, that's challenging, and it's novel for you. Or if you have a hobby and it's something that you can do, and it's not really, it's relaxing, but it's not really doing a whole lot for your brain, then find a new little twist to this hobby. If you're a woodworker, find a new little way to a new tool or something that you can change the craft a little bit, or embroidery. Maybe you can try crocheting. Something that you have to struggle with a little bit at the very beginning. That way you're challenging your brain again to make this, it's learning, your brain's learning again. So this is what you want to do. Go to a museum, come back and recreate a tour. But you're challenging your brain in novel and creative ways. And that's mental stimulation. Mental stimulation is very critical. It really helps increase mass in your brain, and it increases the neurotransmitters that I talked about that decrease as we get older too. So another important part of brain health.
Okay, that's great information. Now let's talk about socialization. Pat, can you talk to the role that socialization plays in maintaining one's brain health?
Well, let's look at the opposite part of that. When you're isolated, you become depressed. It's very critical for your brain to be around people and to talk and to debate and to get other points of view and to get out there and to be with other people. Because other people see things differently, and they make you think about what you're doing and how you do it. It's just a matter of conversation and understanding that there's other perspectives out there, and it's a matter of making you feel better. You have to have a purpose when you wake up in the morning, and socialization sort of says, okay, I'm having lunch with so-and-so, and it's really important to be involved in your community or with friends or with family, but socialization is really critical for brain health.
Okay, Pat, thanks for that information. Pat, would you say there's a connection between stress reduction, spirituality, and brain health? And if so, what is that connection?
It's not connected with religion. Spirituality is a term used to look inward, to find peace within yourself, to see ourselves, to calm ourselves in a hurried society. It could be prayer, it could be meditation, it could be increased mindfulness. But what has happened as everybody has started looking at with our stressful society is stress destroys the brain. The cortisol levels and the norepinephrine start to really eat at the brain, and the brain can't settle down. There had to be a way to bring us back to center and be able to be calm. Long-term effect of meditation improves attention functions and cognitive flexibility. Increased mindfulness, which is just means being in the moment, enhances working memory capacity. You're able to pay attention. If you can pay attention, then you can capture the memory. It reduces anxiety and negative affect and depression. So you're working with emotions as well as with memory function. And studies have found that meditation reduces anxiety, depression, anger, fatigue, and increases stress regulation. So you're able to get a handle on the role that stress plays in your life. Stress is a killer, and it's not just the brain, but it's the whole body. It really affects the whole body.
Pat, that's a good place for us to stop. Maintaining brain health is a goal to which we should all aspire, especially now that discoveries in neuroscience have changed the field of health and wellness. Today we learned that there's plenty a person can do to maintain brain health. For example, we can adjust our diets by eating brain-healthy food. We can engage in behavior that requires thinking, creativity, and critical analysis. By thinking creatively, forming opinions, and expressing them coherently, we're providing a great workout for the brain. Another great way to exercise the brain is by learning new things. In so doing, we're stimulating our brain to the degree of a rigorous workout. Don't forget social interaction. When you're amongst people, you're activating your mind on many levels. This social stimulation assists in maintaining brain health. But don't stop there. As you might guess, physical activity is also critical to maintaining brain health. When engaging in physical activity, you're using your brain to carry out coordinated movements. No doubt an active lifestyle has long been promoted as a way of maintaining good physical health and body function. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. Physical activity also benefits our brains as it improves cognitive function, mental abilities, and may prevent age-related memory loss. So to reiterate, regular exercise, mental stimulation, social stimulation, and consumption of brain-healthy foods will be your game changer. To learn more about brain health, visit brainhealthctr.com. And remember, you can email Patricia at pcfaust@gmail.com. By communicating with Patricia, you will have a greater appreciation for improving and maintaining your brain health. In closing, I'd like to thank my guest, Patricia Faust, for her participation on this program. Pat, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And as always, thank you to you, our viewers, for watching Your Money, Your Life. My name is Attorney Ramsey Bahrawy, Building Your Trust.